Good morning, everyone.
Good
We
morning.
are today. We're going to have a quick chat about all things to do with posture, because that's obviously going to be quite a big thing, especially now everyone's sitting a lot more and doing a lot less moving generally. So I thought that'd be quite a good chat to have. And we're also going to talk a bit about clean eating, what that means, and how it's kind of commonly used, and why we do or don't think it's a good way to go about things. If anyone does have any questions, just pop them in the comments below, and they should pop up here, so we can answer them as and when. And if you watch this later, which I imagine most people probably will do, then just comment below, and I will get back to you with answers then. So I guess to start off with, then, what is your definition of good posture, or is there a good posture even?
So I think posture is hugely overplayed. Um, I think the idea that there is one singular correct posture is really unhelpful, because humans are designed to move. Like our spine should go in multiple directions. That's how it's built. So the idea that we always have to be like this and anything that isn't this is incorrect but also harmful is really unhelpful, um, because it leads to people spending time on probably the wrong things, but also spending money on the wrong things too.
Yeah, I think that's quite a good answer. I think we've got a big issue, but I can't not you can't not see things about posture everywhere. Like, yeah, your people companies spend vast amounts of money getting people to sit in the perfect like conformations at their desks or whatever. Yeah, there's all these quick fix things that you can buy, like straps and supports and all this, yeah, arguably rubbish. That's really expensive, and actually, you could probably resolve your kind of painful issues by just moving a little bit more frequently. Um, and I think that's the thing. I think when it comes to posture, I think what you said is right. Like, you know, your posture is kind of a point that you kind of are in, you know, kind of transiently. Like, you know, any position you can get into could be your posture at that time. It's not like a fixed thing. And I think your ability to choose where you sit is the important part, rather than being forced to be in one position because you can't move into others. That's
Yeah,
why we tend to get
exactly.
the pain, because we're
Um,
just, we're forced to stuck.
and the pain is an interesting point because if you don't have any pain, then why are you worrying about it? Um, And if you do have pain, it's not because your posture is incorrect. It's probably because either you're spending too long in one position, or it's probably that one, or there's some kind of weakness somewhere that's making it impossible or difficult for you to get out of that position specifically. Because we're all sitting for long periods of time. So if you don't move for 8 hours, something's going to hurt because we're not supposed to do that. Um, But if you're able to sit in whatever is your happy sitting position and then get up periodically throughout the day and be in different positions and have no pain from doing so, then I don't think you necessarily need to be like sitting at a proper desk or buying a proper chair. If there's no problem, like you don't need to be spending time and money worrying about it.
Yeah, I think probably the key things, certainly when it comes to kind of sitting, at in your office, is one, have a chair that you find comfortable and sit in it how you find comfortable. If someone goes, you've got to sit like this, shoulders up, like, that's not comfortable. I'm not going to sit like this, like a robot. It's kind of quite hard on my back. Whereas if I kind of slump into my chair, that's comfortable for me. So that's how I'm going to sit. I quite like being a bit reclined. Um, if I'm going to be in that position for 8 hours, then no matter, I think I'd argue, no matter how I sit, it's going to be, painful anyway. Um, yeah, and I can see why we optimize these things. So for our head positioner, we'll have the chair at a certain desk, or chair at a certain desk, the height of the desk at a certain height, and all this sort of thing. Because obviously, if you have to sit in a position for 8 hours a day for 10, 15 years, obviously that's going to have quite a big negative impact. So minimizing that is quite important. But I would argue that if you don't do anything outside of that, it doesn't really matter how you sit. You're probably going to come against a problem anyway, whether that's neck pain, thoracic pain, lower back pain, hip pain, shoulder pain, whatever. You're going to be on your phone quite a lot. You see this quite a lot in people with like text neck. They're looking down. And it's just because they're doing it quite a lot. If you are someone who spends 10, 15 minutes a day mobilizing, or you train, or you kind of are doing different things, you're much less likely to kind of notice this issue, because you're doing so many more things. You're actually using your body for what it's designed to do, which is a variety of stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And I think if you're just moving often, that is going to be the best number one thing to do. So even if you're currently working from your sofa, which I feel like most people are, or from a stool in your kitchen, that's just what life is right now. But if you are finding that your neck hurts or your back hurts or your knees hurt or whatever, just move. So maybe every 30 minutes or every 60 minutes, you have a little thing on your phone that says get up, and you just get up and walk around the house and then come back down. Or you pick a joint and you work through all of the range. So maybe you sit there and you do this, or maybe you stand up and you move your legs to move your hips. Like, it doesn't really matter. All that matters is that you're not in the exact same position for long periods of time.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say that's a massive thing actually. Is if I've had really good success with people with just going, all right, we're just going to do, if you do 10, 15 minutes of mobility a day, it's a prescriptive, just follow these movements, do as many of them as feel comfortable, but just spend 10 or 15 minutes a day doing it. If people actually do that, 3, 4, 5, certainly a couple of months in, they feel better, generally speaking. Like if it's just a pain caused by sitting or by doing office work, that kind of dissipates, and you actually find out, is there an underlying cause that's something else, or is it just because you're sitting there? Because you can't really find out what works and what doesn't if everything's like really tight. You don't know if it's a protective tightness, because you can't find out, because you can't move out of it, so you have no idea. And again, if 10, 15 minutes sounds like a lot to you, try 1 minute every hour. That's not a lot, and literally, like Penny said, you can just move your wrists for a minute, move your neck for a minute, move your spine for a minute, move your hips for a minute, knees, ankles. You've pretty much done shoulders. You can be done before midday if you do it like that, and it's
exactly
really simple.
And I've had clients almost eliminate like neck and shoulder pain just from doing stuff at their desk periodically through the day. So like when they're on phone calls, maybe just moving their shoulders, or when they get an email, maybe moving their shoulders, moving their neck, like having different triggers of things that happen in the workday that are happening periodically, to be like, oh, okay, I'm going to move my shoulder blades now. Or okay, I'm going to move my wrists now. So then you're hooking on the thing that you want to do to the thing that you're doing anyway. Then you're going to be doing it periodically throughout the day, and you'll get better at doing it, and your body will feel better for moving often.
Yeah, definitely. And it's a bit easier now, I think, for people to do that, because you're kind of in the comfort and safety of your own home. So no one's going to look at you funny if you decide to get up and sit in a squat for 30 seconds. I mean, obviously, if you're in your office and you're having a client meeting, you're probably not going to get up and just be like, hang on a minute, I've got a squat. But you can, now is a good time to start and see if you can actually see a positive benefit in the time that you are actually working out of your home. Then obviously when you transition back to your office, you can just play around with it, and maybe like just do it in the morning before you have your shower, or do it in the evening when you get home or something.
You could also actually foster this environment at work. I worked in an office once when I was still a journalist, or a journalisting more often, I guess. And they would just get up periodically and do an activity. So I only worked there on Fridays, and just before lunchtime on Fridays, we would always do like push-up competition or plank competition,
cool.
or like something for us all to just be moving for 1 to 5 minutes, which was really nice. And I don't know if they did it on the other days, but I kind of feel like maybe they did. And because other people were doing it, it was like, okay, this is just what we do here. This is the culture of moving. And it meant that if you wanted to get out of your chair and do some moving, no one would be like, what are you doing? This is strange
Yeah,
behavior.
I think that's great. Like, I'm not sure if smoking breaks are still a thing in offices because I've not worked in one. I assume they probably are. And part of me is like, okay, but if you're gonna, so you almost get. I'm going to say this. It's probably going to be controversial, but you almost get rewarded for being a smoker by having a break. And I'm not sure I agree with that because it's like, oh, so I don't smoke, but then I don't get all these breaks. I'm like, okay.
This was
So I
actually why
quite
I
like,
started smoking when I was
yeah,
younger,
and
so I
it's
could have
like,
a break.
why are we doing that? It's like if you're going to have a smoking break, fine. Like we'll cater to your addiction, but yeah, in the other event, it's like, okay, let's have some times of the day that we're going to have a movement break. So if you go out for a smoke, everyone else can do whatever they want, but it's just not sitting in chair time. It's like, all right, fine, we'll get up and go for a wander, like for 5-10 minutes. That should be fine. You know, if we can have people going smoking, we can have people going for a wander. Um, I think that's one. It's a great incentive to get people moving, and two, I think I've heard of a company even doing that where it's like, okay, if you don't smoke and you don't have breaks, we're going to add up all that time and you get it as holiday.
That's nice.
So it's like if you don't smoke, you get like an extra 2 days holiday a year or something,
Gosh, that's
which is
great.
quite cool. And it's a nice incentive, actually, like a health promoting incentive, which I quite like.
Yeah, no, I like that.
So yeah, maybe that's something that I don't know if anyone is listening and has the power to change their office environment, that might be an idea. Movement breaks, movement snacks.
Movement snacks, I like that. So yeah, I think the moral of the story there was there is no right or wrong posture, and if positions cause you particular issue, try and move in and out of them on a frequent basis.
Yeah, do your daily mobility, basically.
Yeah.
And
And then what's important with mobility is that you strengthen the ranges that you're creating. So when you are doing your strength training, make sure that you are still doing full range work and not like only ever doing partial ranges of stuff, because it will make it harder to strengthen the bits that are weak if you avoid them.
yeah, which is why I'm a much more of an advocate for active mobility rather than passive stretching. Um, they kind of have their place to a degree, but I would rather if you passive stretch, sort of think gymnastics where like you've got someone like pushing you into a stretch for like 30 seconds. One, it's agonizing, and two, it does open up a range, but unless you then immediately go and strengthen that full range, you're going to come back tomorrow and probably have to go through that whole horrendous situation again. Whereas you can probably, it'll take a bit longer, but if you're more focused on like active range of movement, so things like where let's talk about like a side split, for example, you can have someone pushing you down, which is going to hurt like crazy, or you could do a variety of movements such as like a weighted Cossack squat or things like that, like a lateral lunge, stuff like that one, you're having to control the movement through a range, but also you can add load and get kind of a weighted stretch into a slightly larger range each time. But because you're having to move in and out of that range, your body's kind of understanding what it takes to control movement in that end range and then come out. So you're kind of slowly delayering the protective tightness. Because obviously when we're tight, muscles aren't actually shorter. All it is like a neurological thing saying, I'm going to contract this muscle to stop you going into this range where I think you're going to get hurt. Like if you can see this by if you go into anesthetic, you could put someone in whatever position you wanted. As soon as they wake up again, the like neurological processes fire back up and they kind of go back to where they were, which is quite cool. But at the same time, it's like a proof that you have to train your mind to allow you to enter these new shapes. And this is something actually it was discussed yesterday. Was that if you get someone who struggles with a squat, because it's all like sagittal plane, so it's all like just quite a simple straight up and down movement. If you switch that into like a lateral version, actually just because it's a new movement pattern, sometimes people don't really they'll squat a lot better by doing that because they're not thinking about, oh, it's a squat, I'm going to fall over. They're thinking about how I do this movement.
That's cool.
Which is kind of anecdotal, but it's something that's been seen or like experienced by people who struggle to squat here, but they squat much better when you change the pattern into a different plane.
That totally makes sense though, because if the reason that someone is struggling to get into position is because their body doesn't think it feels safe, doing it in a different way is quite a good way to bypass that, because it doesn't know that it doesn't feel safe yet because it's not tried.
Yeah, exactly. So it's I think in that sense it's quite it's just worth playing with. So just try movements out and play with it. If something doesn't work, try and do a movement slightly differently or a different way. And have it make it a bit of a game, which is why, like, as we discussed last week, even stuff like dancing and yoga, whatever you enjoy doing is the best thing to do. Like, you don't have to come to the gym and lift weights, but that's just what we like doing.
Yeah, exactly. Just move often and through all of your range in whatever way makes you happy.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't really sell very well, but that's basically what we need to do.
Just move.
Yeah, just move more is always going to be a good thing. If anyone's got any questions on that, I think you could probably dig into that in like really specific detail, but there's not a lot of point unless someone's got a question on it. I think you'll find both on my page and on Penny's like a bunch of resources that you can follow along to movement wise, and just do them, try them for a few weeks, like, and just fit them into your day wherever you can. I guarantee you'll feel better at the end of it. And also just don't waste money on pointless posture correcting bits of kit that won't help you and are just going to be uncomfortable.
So uncomfortable.
Shall we
Yeah.
move on? Let's talk about clean eating.